very first episode of Heal Yeah, our talk show where we have our very first guest, Earl Cooter. Earl, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, man? I just want to say thanks for having me. And my question here is it always like I haven't used Skype since I guess since I was in China. It was probably the last time I used Skype. Is it always this grainy?
It can be pretty grainy, man. We're gonna refine it down, make you all nice and pretty looking there once we get going.
Oh, okay. Well, because I'm just like, is this what like? Because if it's this grainy, I feel bad for the people that like pay money to have phone sex with Sonny. Like, you can't, you won't be able to actually see her nipples.
Well, now you just gotta pay what, $9.99 and you get a DVD. So,
I'm not saying it's not worth it. I mean,
so we'll just get right to it. You've had a pretty big career. I heard about you through Maritime Wrestling. I live in the Maritimes here. Back 2010, I saw your very first show, Mainstream Wrestling, facing Sidewalk Sam. And you've been a staple of the Maritime wrestling community since. So my question is, how'd you get started in the wrestling community?
in general or in the Maritimes?
Oh, let's start with in general, and then we can branch out to the Maritimes.
All right. I'll try to gloss over this quick, but like, man, I started the way so many fans do. Some people aren't proud to admit it, but I actually think it was pretty cool. We had a pretty solid backyard fed, and I always like to, if I'm going to bring shame on myself, I always got to bring shame on everybody else that participated in it. And the two big stars that were in my backyard fed, not my backyard, someone else's backyard, but our backyard fed were WWE former tag team champion Mikey from the Spirit Squad,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
as well as TNA former TNA superstar Anthony Nese. So we had a pretty prolific backyard fit.
And then I guess the story from there is you must have went and got
Okay.
training.
Oh yeah, you gotta help me along here. I'm a little slow. Uh, yeah. So somebody actually a local. It was weird. Imagine this. Somebody's kid was like 10 years old. We had a friend, like worked at a toy store, used to hand out flyers for it. I mean, we actually used to draw crowds. It was crazy. And I mean, imagine somebody's backyard being filled with like a live DJ, lights, and 125, 150 fans on a Friday night. Like it was pretty wild when you
Did you
look at
guys,
it now.
did you guys have a
That's
ring
how
or?
popular. That's how popular wrestling was. In the early 2000s. It's crazy to look back, and actually it's probably the late 90s, but. So you look back at that, and it's crazy that they would come for that. But anyway, so a local wrestler's son saw us, and the local wrestler guy was like, some of you guys are pretty good, and particularly thought I was actually pretty funny. And he was like, "You're really funny on the microphone." He's like, "You should try this." He's like, "You're not really built that good, but you should probably you're tall." He's like, "You're tall, you should try it." And so we went, and a few of us, not Nice and not Mondo, but a few other ones of us went and trained at a place called the LIWF Doghouse, which is most notorious for putting out guys like Homicide and Low Key. And pretty much got my ass kicked there for a while. I bounced around to some other places, but somewhere between those, I like to believe I learned how to wrestle.
So how'd that bring you from back then to the Maritimes now, where you come for Wrestle Center?
Right, and like I said, I've also done UCW. I mean, you said you saw me at what was that MSW,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and here's a cool story, I think, for fans and wrestlers alike. Now, imagine that I was probably the one day of my life I ever woke up before 10 a.m. and you're looking at me like this guy doesn't get up. No, dude, I'll sleep till noon because I can. That's what the life of pro wrestling has afforded me. So just so we're clear on that, I can
Sweet.
I can sleep till noon all I like. I just so everybody out there knows I drive a mint condition 1979 Corvette, and I
Can't beat
also
that.
have multiple apartments in multiple cities. So thank you, pro wrestling. I really appreciate it. Um, no, but anyway, now that I'm done bragging, everybody actually hates me now in this interview, so that's cool. But ladies, if you're out there, I do have a Corvette in multiple apartments. Just putting that out there. Um, so, I woke up early this one day, and I'll never forget. I was scanning Facebook, and I saw one wrestler say, "Damn, unfortunately, I have to miss out on a good opportunity. And then I scrolled down a little bit more and I saw another wrestler write, is there anyone that can travel to Canada that A can drive and like B can leave tomorrow? And I kind of knew the dude and I said, "All right, I'll do it." I was like, I called him up. I said, "Hey," I said, "Give me your number." I called him up. I said, "What's the deal?" And he was like, "Look, you're going to get paid." He said, I don't know exactly what." He said, "Have you ever been to Canada before?" I said, "Not to wrestle." And this is, well, like you said, 2009 or 2010. And, I was just probably starting to make a solid name for myself, in the States. And, so like I said, I took the chance. I didn't know what the match was, where, you know what I mean? I knew very little about it. I heard, it's a show with Bret Hart. I figure, and now here's the American. I'm like, oh, well, Bret Hart's there. So that's like the same as like my exact words were, that's got to be the same as the president of Canada. And then the man on the phone corrected me and said, actually, they have a prime minister. And I still don't know the difference, but regardless, I took the chance. I showed up, and even crazier, just to put a little more fun into the story. So when I got there, we actually got there the afternoon, the day before the show. And I remember we were like exhausted because it was like a 24-hour drive almost. And we took a nap, and I remember we woke up, it was like 5 o'clock, whatever. We went over to the venue, and they did a walkthrough, right? And now they did a walkthrough of what everyone was doing. Except for some reason, they just looked at me and they said, "Okay, Cooter's going to do this other thing. We'll talk about it later, blah, 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 blah." And I was like, what? Like, we just sat through a 2-hour walkthrough, and like guys are like going over matches, and like they're like, "All right, come," they're pointing, do we come down the thing over there, and all these technical questions, and please stand here because we got to get your picture when you come out of the thing. And I'm like, "Oh, all right, cool." And I'm like, "Well, what about me?" And they're like, "Oh, we'll tell you your thing later." And I think at the end of it all, it was because of some politics that I don't really know about. I mean, somebody somewhere. I know that there was one veteran guy who like gave me an attitude like for being there, and I was like, I don't know. I was like, dude, somebody gave me an opportunity to come here. I don't know. I guess he didn't. I'm saying I don't think he liked the other guy I was working with.
Okay.
And, but I
Now,
didn't.
this is your MSW show where you face
Right,
Sidewalk Sam?
right. Sidewalk Sam, and so I guess he didn't like Sidewalk Sam. I don't really know. I just remember the guy going like like playing like locker room agent slash veteran general. I don't know I don't know what I want to call him, but so he made me run down the match with him, and he was like, "That's too long," and like blah 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 blah. And I was like, "Hey man, I'm just doing what they told me. Like I'm like, what, I don't, you know what I mean?" I was like, I really don't think it is, considering what everybody else is doing, but whatever, man. I was like, and he was like, he like started barking at me. I just didn't care. I was like, all right, okay. And I mean, years later, I think I worked with the dude, and it was fine, and I think we liked each other after. But I think, like I said, I don't think it was anything against me to begin with. I don't think he knew what my deal was. That's probably too much detail, but regardless, I don't think he liked the other guy. So, but the moral of the story, why I think it was so cool, and I went on this 8-minute tangent, was because that's something out there for wrestlers. Like, be ready, have your passport. Be ready to travel. Like, try to set yourself up where you either, if you have to work a regular day job, set yourself up with one that's lenient, and you can be like, "Hey, man, I need 2-3 days off. This is a big thing." You know what I mean? And don't give up, like, because you never know. You wake up one day, and I'll tell you, I can't get into it, but I woke up today to some amazing news affecting my wrestling career, and you just never know, man. You just you just never know. You just got to be in there, and you just got to be, as long as you're able to put yourself in a position where you can be there, and this is your job and it's your profession, things can really happen. You can really become part of some exciting things, and the sky's the limit. So, like I said, that's the cool part of that story, was that led to, it wasn't just that exciting trip. That led to, I've done multiple tours in the Maritimes, and I'm still going there, and, fans still talk about me even when I'm not there. And, like, I think that's amazing. And I got to tell you, I'm not just saying it because you're Canadian, right? You are,
Yeah,
right? I'm just
yeah.
making sure I got the right info. Yeah. I don't know much about you, Josh. I think you're Canadian. Um, so a lot of people think I'm Canadian, but I'm not. But probably because I'm in the Maritimes so much. But I'm not. I have no affiliation with any Canadians other than I think they're really awesome.
It's the gimmick,
Um,
man. It's the gimmick. Canadians, that's us. We're just laid back country folk.
Yeah.
Which leads to my next question. While you're talking about being ready, you've been all over the place. I've seen you. You've been in China. You've been in the U.S. all over the U.S., Canada. Where else have you been, and where's been your favorite spot wrestling crowd wise? Like, who gets the most into like the crowd?
All right. Well, check this out. I mean, as you say that, I am really proud of the China stuff, and if you see right behind me on my wall here, I make sure that my credentials from that was from the Mastercard Center, and actually some of the other tour dates. There's two there. I don't know. I'm not gonna. I'm sitting down, like kind of laying down almost. So if I reach back, it's a little difficult, but you may notice there's a door behind me also. So the way I like to do that is I like to march girls into my apartment and then immediately turn their head to the left so they can see that I've been to China, and then I just look at them and I tell them, yeah, that's right, I've been to China.
There we go.
But anyway, I've been to China and I'm gonna be going to Uranus shortly, is what I usually say. Uh, but, but anyway, I honestly, dude, my favorite place, I gotta say, I'd probably say I tell a lot of people, I think it's Halifax. I love it there. And I love the crowds. And I'm not just saying it. Again, I know I'm talking to a Canadian guy, but you guys always treat me awesome. And I've had opportunities. I've had some sillier matches and some whatever, but I've had opportunities, especially in Wrestle Center, to do some of the things I want and have some pretty high quality matches and albeit first time matchups with guys that I'm not familiar with and still do some pretty crazy stuff. And like I said, fans of Wrestle Center are awesome. I mean, I remember first time I went there, they're chanting, not first time I went there, but the first time I wrestled for Wrestle Center, and it had been a while since I'd been back there, and I was a little surprised. A lot of the crowd didn't know me, and they were, I got like a "Who are you?" chant. You know what I mean? I went against a popular guy, and I got like a "Who are you?" chant, and by halfway through the match, turns to "This is awesome." To the next time I come, they're throwing streamers at me. You know,
Halifax is that tight knit wrestling community where you are getting the streamers there. You're getting the chance, and the crowd is super into it. And Halifax has that great air and chemistry in that building.
and I appreciate that because I'm going to tell you, look, I've been a lot of places, and I have wrestled on some huge stages and in some awesome companies. And I got to be honest, though. I mean, I haven't always. I don't think I get in the general, and I don't care. I'm not mad about it. I'm just saying I think a lot of people hear my wrestling name, and my gimmick is, I love using this word with it. My gimmick has evolved, and there was a time where I had to rely on a little bit more, comedy and simpler, like grosser, more gimmicky kind of stuff, and not let my wrestling do the talking. And I think over the years that's kind of changed, and I don't think a lot of people still, unless you're a diehard Earl Cooter fan, a lot of people just see my name on there and they go, "Oh, Earl Cooter." I see it all the time. People are just like, "What the hell's an Earl Cooter?" and like blah blah blah, and they don't really get it. And like, I would say now, what started as a Joe Dirt kind of, character, Dukes of Hazzardy kind of, thing. I feel like Earl Cooter now, like I don't feel the need to change the name, and I don't feel like I have to change a whole lot. And like the way I've evolved, I'm saying like what I feel like it really is I'm like I'm like a David Lee Roth kind of thing, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm a Earl Cooter is a name, but it's like I'm so much more than that. Like I'm definitely like a rock star. I'm definitely this. I try to be this, larger than life embodiment of like that, and of like just like like the rock and roll American spirit. You know what I mean? And like I try to bring that in. But like I said, the thing I love about Canada, to reiterate, is I feel like those fans have gotten to see some cool, unique stuff from me, and have openly, received that. Like they were receptive and look past whatever my name is or whatever gear I'm wearing, and just see a good wrestler and mainly applaud me because of that. And I love that, and that's why I think it's my favorite place, honestly.
And what you were talking about, the evolution of Earl Cooter, and I go back to when I first saw you, and you were wearing the singlet with the Confederate flag,
Right.
and now you're actually wearing trunks. You don't rely on that's like that Earl Cooter singlet there.
Right. And that's exactly it. And I mean, it did for a long time. And even like, even funnier. And not to, like I said, I always feel like I sound defensive or whatever, and I'm not. It's just funny because I just, so many people say so many things that you hear. And even a lot of my friends are like, you should, like that singlet you saw is like airbrushed, ugliness, but it was on purpose. Like no one understood. Like, believe me, dude, I do well. I make money in wrestling. I could buy whatever gear I want. The point was, it was funnier to me to have something that looked like it was made. Like I remember one fan one time was like, "Well, what is this painted with like Easter pastels?" What the hell? And I think that's hilarious because I'm getting heat for that, and it's funny, and it's like, yeah, I'm a dirty redneck, man. I'm gonna have shitty gear, and but it's not because I couldn't afford it. You know what I mean? And I even like the contrast, like when I first switched to boots, and I had like shiny new boots and like a shitty looking singlet. That was hilarious to me. Like I was like, it doesn't even like it just weirds you out, and you're like, why does he have boots like that? And I remember guys like, oh, tape up your boots and make them look ugly, and I was like, no, leave them shiny. It looks hilarious, like and
And those are the
so
promo pictures of you with the singlet that promoters still use. I'm looking at a poster that we were talking about your dates that we are going to plug here today, and I see a
right,
new poster with you on it, and you're wearing that singlet, and it's a
right.
newer poster.
Right. Yeah, well, I think I do have a couple like I know when I went on to WWN, like I'm looking at one right now, like I have one up on my wall, but I'm looking at I have the newer version of that singlet, and I think a lot of people just like that picture because I feel like my hair looked good and my arms were real big in the picture, so I feel like they use that one a lot, which I don't blame them. That's cool. I mean, I even still to this day, for those that don't know, I run three schools for the WWN now, and at two of them there's banners of me with the older kind of picture that the WWN made, from the China tour. And so I mean, even I still, I'm not, I don't mind. I mean, it's a good picture. I look cool in it. I mean, I got a little heavy mustache in that, but like I said, those are all things I changed up a little bit. But I mean, whatever, man. Some days I can have a heavy mustache. Some days, some days I could be the dirtiest redneck in the world. Some days I could not be redneck at all. I do what I want, man. Like I said, it's all at the end of the day, it's about wrestling, and the one thing that I think hasn't changed or doesn't change is I am a very capable wrestler. I'm very solid at what I do, and I feel like I have a good attitude in the ring and towards the other guys I got to wrestle and towards the business itself. I love professional wrestling, and it really is my whole life, and I will do whatever I can to make that the way it is for as long as possible.
So I'm fairly active, like volunteering within the wrestling community. I announce. I don't know if you know, familiar with the Atlantic Grand Prix with Rene Dupree. I announced for him. I'm reffing this year. And I talk to a lot of guys, and I ask the big question I find with them is, do they prefer being heel or face? And that's a question I want to ask you because up in Canada here, you're a face. Like guys love you here, and then we see in the States, and I see you cutting promos in the States, and you're the biggest heel ever. So
Right on.
which is funner for you to play?
Okay. I love being able to run my mouth, obviously. Like I like look, again, I'm just saying things that have happened in my life. Like I've gotten commended many times for my mic work, and I have been a heel in Canada. The sidewalk same thing. If you remember, started out a heel
Yeah.
and got a promo, and like I said, I got that gig. Well, not that somebody else got pulled from it, but they made me cut a promo. They decided after watching when I promoed, from previous things, and the same thing with so many other feds. They just are like, give him the mic, dude. Let him just be a dick. And so I love that. I do. I also, I'd say overall, I like being a heel better because it's just what I'm more comfortable with, and I think it's because another thing I think that in general I'm good at that maybe is underrated is like the pacing of a match, and I feel like on a technical side you can really have a hand in that, and I think once again not to be misinterpreted because when I'm in there with better guys, it's not so it's I don't try so hard to be the one in control of the situation. I try to make it it's a like an ebb and flow. I want to give back, but like a lot of times I am that guy. I say this a lot. I am that guy that ends up with either guys that are older or younger, like that extreme of like this guy's brand new or this guy's been there forever and he's kind of physically limited. So I have to try to make the most out of that. And those are the times when I can really control the pace and I understand what I'm dealing with. And like I feel like, all right, if this guy is, willing to do things a certain way, we can really have something good there. And I end up in that position a lot. And like I said, I don't mind it. Um,
And for those that aren't like familiar with the back to the scene stuff, the heels call the match in the ring, and that's why you're saying the pace is because you'd be calling the match,
uh,
right?
I mean, generally, I mean, you're right. Even still, sometimes I mean, I don't. Like I said, I try to keep it balanced, man. I mean, I don't know if I necessarily. I'm sorry, I'm adjusting this thing. I hope I'm not ruining it.
No worries.
I I try to like let everybody get their input. I just think that like when you're in the ring, I think the most potential to bring things to the right pace and to slow things down or speed or even set up things that speed up. You're just the heel is very in control of it. It usually is just the way it works out. But I love my favorite thing about being a face, like I said, is it's a thing where I feel like to be a talented face 90% of the time, um, you have to have a certain charisma of your own where people want to get behind you, and that's a challenge for me. I think I have it, but I'm saying I don't know how. Like it's, I feel like it's a, uh, like Star Wars, like the Force. Like I haven't mastered it, and I love doing it, and like when it's going well, I think it's incredible, and I feel like it's the truest form of me, and I feel like that's when I get to share the most of. Like I said, if you said, okay, what actual personal characteristic do you think you have the most of, or like that sets me, not the most of, but that sets me apart from other wrestlers? And I would say from the people I know me have told me, and what I believe myself is I have a lot of heart, man. And you can put me through the ringer and I'll never stop coming. Like I am a fighter, and I am a legit fighter. And like I said, I've been tested my whole life. And I think like when you're working as a face, and you can convey that, and people can, if you have that and people can see it and recognize it, that's why they get behind me. I love sharing that part of me. I love letting the people see what that's all about.
Awesome. I actually have a fan question. Well, not really a fan. Somebody Justin Cody Parsons from Wrestle Center.
Okay.
I was talking to him, and he said he wanted to know how it is working for Evolve now that they are affiliated with the WWE, and has that helped you push out the name Earl Cooter a little more?
Um, I suppose it has. I mean, I think it's still so new. A lot of people don't grasp it. And to be fair, and not to make myself sound super important or more important than I am, look, I'm in Evolve. I've been on multiple Evolve shows. I'm not a main focus in that company. And I'm not ashamed to say that there's some super talented guys in that company that are the focus, and they deserve to be. I love being a part of it. So I don't know if it's added a huge. Well, being an Evolve has, but I'm saying this new affiliation, I don't know if it's added a huge value to me. Like I haven't seen it pay off just yet. Um, but I do think it adds a tremendous value to the company. And, some of the other guys are flat out, I mean, in the last year, a bunch of Evolve, guys that were the main event ended up, under WWE contract, and other ones are working the shows regularly. And yeah, it does blow my mind. And yeah, I was there when Triple H was there. And I mean, dude, there's nothing else you can say except like, you're at your show, you're doing your thing, and here we are, everybody's doing their thing, and who comes walking in the door? It's Triple H. I mean, you know what I mean? It's already William Regal's already there, and you're blown away as it is. You know what I mean? He's coming out the ring, he's doing something on the show, and that's cool enough. Here is, all of a sudden, boom, Triple H walks through the door. And not only does he walk through the door, he's talking with everybody. He's shaking our hands. He's telling us unbelievable things. And then, oh, by the way, the next night he goes and wins the Royal Rumble and he's the champion. So obviously the whole thing, was important to him also, because I'm sure he had plenty of other things he could have been doing. And, we're all glad he stopped by, man. And it gives us all great inspiration and a great feeling, and just lifts everyone's spirits. I mean, How could it not, dude? I mean, that's it doesn't get any bigger. Let's face it, it doesn't get any bigger than the WWE, and Triple H is pretty up there in the WWE. You know, he's obviously not just a wrestler. It's not, you know what I mean? So when Triple H, who basically, you know, the way I understand it is, you know, the guy at NXT and all that, and you know, when he comes to the show and shows interest in everybody, I mean, it's hard to be anything but grateful and blown away. You know, everybody's really pumped about it. You know.
He seems really interested in like the developing of newer, further wrestlers, and that's just something that's really it shows with all these new shows coming out on the network, like
Right.
Breaking Ground and all that. You see the backstage and just how invested he is just unreal.
Well, I think, you know, and like not to go on about it forever because I'm sure people will get bored, but I think the thing that he realizes and a few other people in charge realize is that there's a ton of good wrestlers out on the indies, and you know everybody's always like, oh, you know, the territory days and blah blah blah. Well, all of us are like kind of living that, man. Like we all, I'm not under WWE contract, you know what I mean? I have to make money. I have to like pay my bills, and the way I do that is I travel from state to state and country to country, and I wrestle, and it's all, I have to perpetuate that. I have to contact people. I mean, sometimes I get lucky and people contact me, but all in all, I have to reach out. I have to promote myself. I have to, you know, and everybody does things differently. Like I'm not a huge, like you know, I know you had mentioned like, you know, what merchandise do I have, and I don't have a ton, you know, and I do sell merchandise and I am good at it, but I'm saying I don't have a ton of my own, and I, you know, it's not because I don't think anybody will buy it. I've been really busy with a lot of things, and the way I've done things has worked, you know. So I'm like, I'll get around to it one day. But like I said, regardless of what I'm doing, Triple H sees that there's guys, and for instance, the WWN, which is Evolve, and also Full Impact Pro and Shine for the girls, and all these companies, he sees that the WWN is the you know the glue that holds this whole thing together, which almost is like a, you know, almost like a modern day NWA, but probably almost better because there's so much variety. And he sees the talent pool there. The reason why the people are there is because they're talented. So I think it's easy for him to say, hey, let's be involved with this because everybody here is unbelievable. So why wouldn't we be looking at these guys? And I don't think they're ever going to go against, and I don't think they should. I don't think they're ever going to go against developing guys, you know, that are blue chip athletes from college and from collegiate wrestling and other sports and even pro sports like football. Everybody, you know, you hear these wrestlers and you hear fans like bitter fans, and they'll say, "Oh, why would you bring this, you know, jerk in from football and blah blah blah?" Well, because the bottom line is they're professional athletes, and those of us that do this for a living all are professional athletes, and so they probably do have something to offer. And is a guy, you know, is a guy off the NFL roster going to know what I know about wrestling, you know, in day one or his first year? No. But is the potential for this guy to be, you know, maybe not know, because you see that with a lot of those guys. I mean, from my insight, when you see a lot of these guys get released, they don't know how to have indie careers. And there's nothing wrong with that. But some of them are very successful in WWE. So apples and oranges, man. You know what I mean? Like, I'd probably rather be just successful in the WWE than not in an indie career. I mean, I'm sure those guys do a lot better, and you know, you're on a much bigger stage. So no fault in that. I think there's a place, and I mean, I'm the kind of guy, man. I think competition is good. That's like I said. I don't mind not being the main focal point, but it never stops me personally from working harder. Nobody has to tell me to go to the gym every day. Nobody has to tell me how to schedule my day around wrestling. I do it. I run. Like I said, I'm pretty much a guy that runs, you know, 3 schools, you know, 2 in New York, 1 in Florida. And, you know, I mean, there's guys that are there, you know, working and helping, and I appreciate every bit of it. But I'm saying you know, part of the brains behind it. You know, I'm definitely in charge of them. And, you know, like I said, no one has to tell me that. So, you know, there's more guys like me. Like I said, they're in the WWN. There's Drew Gulak. You know, he runs a school, and he's a phenomenal world traveled wrestler. And you know, so of course they're going to look at guys like us. You know, and rightfully so. And we appreciate it. We just want to do our thing, man. You know, we just want to wrestle and and change the world of wrestling for the better. And like I said, that's what I'm saying. Like, so a lot of companies have guys that are good, but on the indies, you can't always trust, that these guys are. You can't be in the WWN, for instance, if you're a drugged out mess and I think all of us are very proud of. None of us are drug users, and none of us are troublemakers, and that's why we're where we are, you know. So
100%
I think,
understand.
like I said, so I think for a place, a pond to fish in, per se, I think Triple H sees like, hey, why these guys are as professional as it gets. Of course, we're going to take a look at them, But like I said, again, man, I could go on and on in circles with this, but our minds are blown. It's exciting. It's the most incredible time I could ever imagine.
That's awesome. We're seeing a lot of changes in the wrestling industry per se, and the one I'm seeing is intergender matches are becoming a huge thing. If we look back 10 years ago, it was intergender matches were tag matches, and the girls fought the girls, the guys fought the guys. You had to tag out. Now we're seeing a completely different situation where the girls are getting in there with the guys, and we've seen you with I've seen you on YouTube with multiple intergender matches.
Right, right.
And what is your opinion on this? Like we're seeing Lucha Underground's the big one taking the forefront on this with their trios, and you got Evilise in there, and then you look on YouTube, you got the Young Bucks versus Joey Ryan and Candice LeRae.
Right.
What is your opinion on this new direction that it's going? I think it's for the better.
Um, I'm inclined to agree with you. I think on the big stages, it's done right. And like I said, I've dabbled in it, and I'll just call her out. Candy Cartwright. I think she's a fantastically underrated wrestler. I mean, she's obviously really good looking, and you know, and as a manager, she's really good too. And she's good on the mic. Like she's an actual manager. She's really a wrestler though, first. But I'm saying like as a manager, she brings to the table what an actual manager should, not just somebody standing out there with a pair of boobs. You know what I mean? And just doing nothing, just looking hot. I mean, that's not bad either, but I'm just saying you can involve her. She reminds me of a sensational Sherry, and I think that's really cool. And I think that's a huge compliment because I think sensational Sherry was probably one of the best female managers ever, based on the fact that she was a fantastically underrated pro wrestler. Like she was great. And so on the bigger stages, I think it looks really good, and I think it's done right. And I'd like to get in on it more, and I'd like to have Candy with me. And I think we're taking some steps to implement that because I think, us versus Joey and Candice, for instance, would be phenomenal. Or, I know that there's other ones that come to mind. I just, that I can't think of at the moment.
Dylan Bostic and his girlfriend are a big one right now in the States.
Okay. Yeah, I can't think of like Heidi Lovelace and
Yes.
there's a few out there. I'm bad with names, but I know the faces. I know them when I see them. I feel bad like struggling with their names because that's makes me sound like a jerk, and I'm definitely not. I'm appreciative to be on shows with all of them, and I think they're all fantastic. And like I said, on that level, yes. Where I take exception to it is I have seen, especially in the local Long Island community, which is in New York and New York City area. I think it's overused right now, and I think a lot of those girls are not ready, and they're just put out there for the sake of intergender, and it hurts it. You know what I mean? And it's like when that gets out there, it hurts it. And like I said, and I'm not gonna like I said, I'll plug the match right now. I mean, it was on YouTube. I did a thing with Candy Cartwright where it was me versus her, and that's probably what you're referring to. And I don't think it was a 5-star match, but I think the concepts of what was going on were there. And
What I liked is it looked even. It wasn't a
right,
one sided affair like we would have saw in the early 2000s.
right. Well, and you saw what I did there, which kind of I paid homage to the old school. I had one arm tied behind my back.
Yeah.
I talked myself into a corner there, and I had one arm, tied behind my back. And if you notice, the one time I got a real blow off on her was a big like I gave her that big clothesline at the end, which I thought was a fantastic kind of way to finish it. And I also got myself disqualified, but it was out of frustration that she was beating me up. But yeah, no, I did. I took the beating, and it looked realistic, and I think that's the way it should be done. You know, like I said, it could have been better, could have been worse. But conceptually, I think it was there, and I just feel like I said, on a low level, it's really misunderstood, and you see, you see tiny little girls hammering and hauling off on not dudes that are in shape, but still dudes that are 6 inches taller and 150 pounds heavier, and it's just corny and it just looks like shit, and it's man, wrestling's a lot more real. Like I know we dissect it and we've kind of gone into the background of that a little bit of like the heel in the face and like okay, so like we get it, wrestling is this performance, but it's a lot more real than people think, and your favorite Canadian there, Bret Hart, will attest to that, because I feel like every chance he gets he mocks the fact that people call it fake, or phony, and I appreciate that and I understand it, because we do kick the shit out of each other in there, and it sometimes there's a lot more backstory and it's a lot more real than you think, and you've actually witnessed some of us in fights for our life in there. And I think that a lot of times that even goes unnoticed. It really, people are just like, "Wow, that was a good match," or even they're like, "Ah, I thought the match was a little slow paced." And I want to say, slow paced. This fucking guy was legitimately fighting him. It was a real fight. We were killing each other. There was nothing else. And I'm like, slow paced. Well, I don't. What do you want me to do? Shoot a fucking firework out of my ass? I just this guy was punching me in the face, fucking as hard as he could. And I had to do it back. So there's that end of it, but all in all, I agree with you, man. The intergender thing's cool, and I'd like to see it grow, and I think it will.
So I got one last question for you before we plug away at some of your upcoming tour dates here. I just want to hear a really good road story from you. It could be from Canada, it could be from wherever. I just want to hear a really good road story.
Dude, every time somebody asks me this question, it's like you think by now I would, have the answer, but there's like two or three of them that come to mind that I don't think I can say them, dude. Like they're really bad.
I read an article where you said somebody put their dick in a cake.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of them. And oh man, like you already like I feel like if already it's already, now that you've said that, it's out there. It's so bad. There's a guy. There was the mainstream wrestling show, and there was a guy on that tour or that show that was the one-off. That was the one-off. I mean, like, if anybody from mainstream wrestling's known, they're gonna go, "What cake?" They know when they had it. And so yeah, one of the other wrestlers put his dick in it before everybody ate it, and it was so bad. I remember the dudes asking us if we wanted cake, and we were watching them eat the cake, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I mean, like he put his dick in multiple places in the cake, and like we were laughing so hard. Like, I mean, there was even pictures of it. It's bad,
Jeez.
I think I did tell that. I think I told that on somebody else's shoot interview, but I forget, and I don't want to get people like, I don't personally care because I didn't do it. I just was fun, and I wasn't.
I don't
not gonna
need
tell him.
names. I just wanted to
Yeah.
make hear
Well, there
that
was
that
a
was
wrestler.
true.
I'll tell you this: he's not up in Canada too much anymore. I don't think he's been back since anyway. But and oh my God, he put his wiener right in the cake. And the promoter and other people definitely ate it, man. It was rough.
So you got a lot of upcoming dates here. You've got well, this week you're going to be very busy. You got FIP in Tampa on the 12th.
Right, look at you doing research. Yeah, I didn't even help you with that.
February 13th, you're with Brainbuster Pro Wrestling Fort Lauderdale. Do you
Right.
know anything about those matches? Anything you can tell
Well, I know
fans?
this, dude. FIP, once again, that's WWN, and that's a Fed I take super serious, and I feel like I've had some 10 out of 10 matches there. Um, been there for a few years, and I feel like it really, that's what got me, that's how I climbed the ladder to Evolve, and that's how I got so deep in the WWN, and I love FIP, and the Orpheum is like probably one of my favorite places to wrestle, even though it's basically just a bar. It is a bar really, but it's like uh, I love it, and I think I'm not sure. I got this guy Ozzy something. I don't know, man. Like I said, I'll tell you this, man. Anybody that orders that live on iPay per view, I would suggest doing it just for what the things that are running through my mind right now, which I'm not going to give away my game plan, but I would say it's going to be worth it. I would say my match alone will be worth it
And
because I think you're going to see something, and I don't think anybody. I'm letting the cat out of the bag by saying that, but who cares? Order the pay per view; it'll be worth it.
we're gonna have
And
that
you
down
know,
below here as well.
yeah,
The
and I mean,
link.
dude, what a world we live in. I mean, like, dude, these are I don't know if you've ever seen WWN pay per views. They're full HD. They're putting out on Blu-ray. That's how good it is, and it's not home video cameras. These are the same cameras that film every other wrestling company. These it looks sick. So the fact that you can drop $10 or sometimes it's like $5 even, and you get a live event broadcast from on the other side of the world from where you guys are. You know what I mean? Shit, Florida's a lot of miles away, dude. And I mean, it's got to be what 3,000 miles almost.
I'd say it's pretty close to that.
2,500. It's up there. That's a world away, man. Try riding that shit on horseback. You know what I'm saying? So I would say, man, anybody out there, if anybody does listen to this or doesn't, or I don't know if they have spider sense or they're tuned in on ham radio and just stealing the signal, go to WWN Live. Order the iPay-per-views. They're sick. Brainbuster Pro out in Hollywood, Florida is a couple buddies of mine that have opened up a thing, and I'm swinging through there, and I know I'm wrestling a dude named Dirty White Boy. Um, I don't know him too well. I don't know him at all. But it should be fun, man. I mean, I love going down that way. I've been down there once or twice, and I'm trying to get down in that area a little more. So it's nice when I'm in the Florida trips in the circuit here, and I can do a couple shows in different areas. Some people get to see me. I get to make some new friends. So yeah, man, excited about that. And then there's tons more. I don't know,
March
but
is gonna be busy for you. I got it in here. I was talking yesterday, and you told me about Evolve on March 19th and 20th. You're
right,
gonna be in New
and then,
York,
right,
and then I was like, and then I look on Facebook today, and I was like, FTW
right, doubleheader,
the 19th with Jake the
which
Snake.
FTW is a company that that's where I started. Not started, but that's where I've had the most say in things, and I'm obviously heavily involved in it. And so yeah, it'll be a doubleheader there, and it's a good. That venue's sick. Laboom looks awesome. It actually looks like a mini NXT in there. It's pretty crazy, like how they have it at Full Sail, like the same kind of setup, and well, not seating wise, but every other way. And yeah, it's New York, and with all these things going on with the WWE and WWN, and I mean, it's New York, dude. There's gonna be, all I can say is, once again, don't miss out, because I'm sure last time we were there, Sami Zayn was there. Sami Zayn was on our show, so I don't know what else I could tell you, except obviously it's pretty cool. So in the last couple months, we've had Sami Zayn, William Regal, Triple H. Who knows who's going to show up next?
Well, once again, I want to thank you for stopping in for our very first episode of Heel Yeah. And people can contact you on Facebook /Earl.Cooter or on
Right.
Twitter at Earl Cooter1. Am I
I
correct?
think that, yeah, I think you're right, man. I don't know. I don't know how I ended up with those handles, but I did. I think it's poor computer stuff by me. Earl Cooter won, but apparently somebody had Earl Cooter already. I don't know, or why I wouldn't go with the real Earl Cooter, or I don't know. Earl Cooter won. It's good enough. But man, like I said, I thank you for having me as your first guest. I don't know if you just pick names out of a hat or shit like that, but
I could have thought of a better guest. We got here tons of stories. Got to learn a little bit more about you and your starting a business, and I get to plug your next coming dates here for you. So
and I get to like flex my bicep and forearm
look at
repeatedly.
that. There you go,
Put it out there, ladies of Canada.
ladies of Canada. Get out of your igloos. Earl Cooter's flexing some bicep.
Cold, I'll warm your rate up, no problem.
All right. Once again, thank you.
Yo, dude, again, always a pleasure to do interviews, and I want to say, man, I think you got a good future with this. You're pretty on point with the questions and laid back, and a lot of dudes when they do interviews, coming from me who hasn't shut up for 45 minutes, they talk over you, dude, like, and I hate it. And like, a lot of them don't. I did one the other day, and it got really goofy, and like they were asking weird questions and playing weird characters, and I think you're pretty straightforward and to the point. And had I actually maybe helped prepare you by giving you any kind of information, it might have even been better. So I think considering that you had to dig and come up with shit for little known me, I think you did a really good job, honestly, dude. And I will encourage others to check it out and hit me on the internet with like tags and shit, and I'll post it. And if anybody made it this far, I want to thank them for supporting me and listening to me. And I would encourage you, like I said, check out the WWN academies, and that's the Fight the World Wrestling Academy as well. And you can go to WWNlive.com, or you can go to FTWwrestling.com for the school stuff. And man, like I said, just thanks, and thanks to all my bros in wrestling, and I appreciate everybody more than they ever really realize. Man, I love this, and like there's layers and levels of people, but those dudes that are really on the same wavelength with me, and that they know who they are, my bros, and like it's crazy, man. They make my life fucking magical. Like it's like there's nothing like spending like that last weekend. That Royal Rumble weekend was one of the funnest weekends I've had in months. And like and nothing particularly amazing happened. It was just a lot of good dudes hanging out, a lot of laughs, a lot of bros helping bros, and a lot of good advice, a lot of good stories. And it's just like I said, dude, that shit's magical. So I thank all them, and like I said, we thank, and all of us. I can say it for everybody, man. We love all you guys that watch wrestling and support wrestling, and realize that we're just out there trying to entertain you guys, and not having to eat out of a garbage can to do it. So it's pretty cool, man. And like I said, dude, any one of us, I hope fans always know, just reach out, man, to your favorite wrestler, even if it's Hulk Hogan or Shawn Michaels, and anything on top of the mountain. Just reach out, man. Shoot them a tweet, shoot them a message. They all love hearing from you. We all love hearing from you, and I think the interaction from the fans. Sometimes they don't always personally get to interact with you, but whether they see it, whether somebody else sees it and tells them, it doesn't matter, man. It's all, believe me, it's all nowadays so accessible, via the internet. And like I said, we're all so very grateful. I'm sorry, my phone's going berserk because there's an amber alert. I don't know if you guys know in Canada what that is. That usually means something bad with kids. So I will, when I get off this, look into that, see if I could be a superhero today. Probably not. I'm sure they've probably already caught the person. Those usually go out late. But,
well, once again, thank you very much, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. And like I said, dude, best of luck in the future. And this is the first one. I'm sure it's going to build up, so don't be afraid to have me back. And then you can just ask me all kinds of ridiculous shit, and I'll try to give you the best answers as I can. We really touched on some good stuff with the dick and the cake.
Yeah, looking forward to it. This has been the first episode of Heel Yeah Wrestling.